You keep saying you work better under pressure, that you just need the right mood, the right timing, the right version of yourself to finally show up. But if you strip the excuses away, you already know the truth. You're not waiting for the right moment. You're hiding in the delay. You wake up with intentions that feel real. You think about the task, the idea, the move you've been postponing. You picture yourself finally doing it, and for a second, it feels possible. Then the day starts. Messages, notifications, small responsibilities, tiny distractions that feel harmless. Nothing destructive, nothing dramatic, just enough to push the important thing to later. And later feels safe. Because if you don't start, you don't risk looking foolish. If you don't begin, you don't expose your limits. If you delay, your potential stays untouched. Untouched potential is comfortable. It lets you believe you're capable without having to prove it. At night, though, when everything slows down, you feel the weight of it. That quiet pressure in your chest. That awareness that you could have moved and didn't. You scroll past people building what you said you would build. You watch others take the risk you've rehearsed in your head 100 times, and you tell yourself they're different, more confident, more ready, more certain. But deep down, you know the real difference isn't talent, it's movement. You've been standing still, and standing still has started to feel heavier than you expected. Because every time you say tomorrow and don't mean it, something shifts inside you. Not your intelligence, not your ability, your trust in yourself. You don't notice it at first, but it builds. Every broken promise to yourself makes the next promise weaker. Every delay teaches your mind that your word doesn't matter. And that's the part you don't talk about. You're not afraid of hard work. You're afraid of what starting might reveal. What if you try and it's average? What if you give your effort and it doesn't change anything? What if you finally move and it exposes the gap between who you think you are and who you actually are? That possibility is uncomfortable, so you call it planning. You call it preparation. You call it waiting for the right time. But the truth is sharper than that. You're protecting an image of yourself that's still full of possibility, still untested, still safe in theory. Because once you begin, theory disappears. Reality shows up. And reality doesn't care about your intentions. It responds to action. And right now, if you're honest, the thing exhausting you isn't the work you haven't done. It's the weight of knowing you've been avoiding it. You tell yourself the delay is temporary, that once things calm down, you'll finally focus. Once you feel more confident, you'll begin. Once the fear fades, you'll move. But fear hasn't faded. It's just gotten familiar. There's a pattern you don't like admitting. You feel discomfort. You promise yourself change. You imagine the version of you who finally follows through. And then you hesitate. Not loudly, not in a way anyone else would notice, just enough to slow down. Just enough to stay in preparation mode. Preparation feels productive. It feels intelligent. It feels responsible. But sometimes it's just fear wearing discipline as a disguise. Because as long as you're getting ready, you never have to perform. And performance is where identity gets tested. You say you want progress, but what you really want is progress without exposure. You want improvement without looking inexperienced, growth without struggle being visible, results without risking your ego. And that tension is draining you. You're not scared of effort, you're scared of clarity. Because the moment you fully try, you find out the truth. You find out how consistent you really are, how focused you really are, how resilient you really are. And that truth feels risky. So you delay, because untested potential still feels powerful. As long as you haven't fully tried, you can still say, I could have.
But that sentence has started to feel heavy, hasn't it? I could have. You've been carrying it for years, and slowly, something inside you has started to shift. You're noticing how much energy it takes to avoid action, how exhausting it is to constantly renegotiate with yourself, how heavy unfinished intentions feel. Avoidance isn't light anymore, it's draining. You've started to realize something uncomfortable. The delay isn't protecting you, it's shrinking you. Every time you say tomorrow without meaning it, your mind takes note. Every time you break your own word, your confidence weakens quietly. Not in a dramatic collapse, in small, invisible cracks. And those cracks change how you see yourself. You hesitate more, you doubt faster, you look for reassurance instead of creating proof. But here's the shift. The discomfort you feel when you think about starting, that tightness in your chest, it isn't a warning sign, it's exposure. You're standing at the edge of seeing yourself clearly. Not the imagined one, not the ideal one, the real one. And once you understand that the delay is costing you more than failure ever could, you can't go back to pretending. Staying stuck starts to feel heavier than moving. The fear is still there. The doubt hasn't disappeared. But now there's something else growing beside it. A quiet awareness. You were never waiting for the right moment. You were waiting to feel invincible. And invincibility was never the requirement. Honesty was. And honesty doesn't feel heroic. It feels uncomfortable. It's you looking at yourself without softening the edges, without saying it's just the timing, without pretending you're confused. You're not confused. You know exactly what you've been avoiding. And that realization doesn't explode, it settles. You stop expecting a surge of confidence. You stop waiting for the fear to disappear. You stop negotiating with the voice that says, not yet, because you finally see it clearly. There is no version of you coming to save this moment. There is only you, right now, imperfect, doubtful, slightly afraid, and still capable of moving. The breakthrough isn't loud. It's a decision so quiet no one else hears. You don't suddenly feel powerful. You just feel done. Done protecting a potential you never test. Done rehearsing the same promises. Done carrying "I'll start soon" like it's progress. So you move. Not dramatically, not with confidence spilling out of you. You move because staying still has started to feel dishonest. You open the file. You send the message. You take the step you've been circling. And it's awkward. Your hands don't feel steady. Your thoughts aren't perfectly organized. There's no cinematic music playing in the background. Just you acting. And in that action, something shifts immediately. You're no longer someone who plans to. You're someone who does. Even if it's small, even if it's imperfect. You just proved to yourself that your word matters. And that rebuilds something stronger than motivation ever could. Self-trust. With every follow-through, even the smallest one, that trust grows. You stop seeing yourself as fragile. You stop seeing yourself as someone who needs the perfect mood. You stop treating fear like it's in charge. Fear is still there, but it's not steering. You are. And that's the real arrival. Not applause, not recognition, not some final destination where doubt disappears. Arrival is internal. It's the moment you stop betraying your own intentions. It's the day you stop asking for guarantees before you begin. You realize something simple but heavy. You were never stuck because you lacked ability. You were stuck because you kept choosing hesitation. And hesitation felt safe until it started costing you your self-respect. Now, when you look at yourself, it's different. There's less quiet disappointment, less late-night regret, less "I should have," because you're not carrying delay anymore. You're carrying action. Even messy action feels lighter than regret. So you don't wait for a perfect Monday, you don't wait for a clean calendar, you don't wait for fear to fade. You begin while it's still uncomfortable. You begin while doubt is still whispering. You begin without certainty. And in that almost invisible moment, when you choose movement over delay, you understand something that changes everything. You were never far from where you wanted to be. You were just one honest decision away. And now, for the first time in a long time, you're not waiting. You're here.